Greetings, respected viewers. In this video, I'm going to talk about President Trump's recent statement on Pakistan and his intended policy. Well, Trump is occasionally caught out telling the truth. For example, if he says he bears a grudge against somebody, that is veracious. He recently said that Pakistan supports the Taleban and the United States is stupid to be giving them huge amounts in aid. Now, Trump has overstated it. He usually does. He never does things by half measures, or he's not prudent with his use of words. But there is more than a grain of truth in what he said. There's a considerable number of people in Pakistan who do back the Taliban. And of course, the people in Pakistan who've been victims of it. Let's not forget, a couple of years ago, the Pakistani Taliban killed well over 100 children in an army school. They assassinated Benazir Bhutto, the former Prime Minister. They're responsible for an awful lot of bombings, many attacks on the Shia community and the beleaguered Christian minority there. Incidentally, one of the reasons they hated Benazir Bhutto is she's a Shia. So they're ghastly. But that said, there is a considerable segment of Pakistani society that's behind them. Now, in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, that province of Pakistan, people there are the same ethnicity as those on the western half of Afghanistan, speak the same Pashto language. So they're fraternal links. They're often literally fraternal links because the families don't really respect the Durand Line. That's the poorest border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. So Hamid Gul, former head of the ISI, he went on television about 10 years ago saying, yeah, we're the brothers of the Taliban. Now, not everybody in Pakistan thinks that way. So it's very difficult to root out Taliban support in Pakistan. The ISI, in a sense, is the deep state. After 9/11, General Musharraf, who was president of Pakistan, he gave what help he could to the United States. He couldn't be pushed too far. If he'd been any more helpful, he would have been overthrown. He came quite close to it. There's several attempts by the Taliban to assassinate him. So Pakistan is often close to civil war, even within the officer corps and the ISI. By the way, the army and the ISI do not always get along, and the ISI is to some extent driven by factions, so nobody really knows quite what they're playing. They'd like as much control over Afghanistan as they can. They can't get it totally. There's some elements in Afghanistan who are hostile to them. So that's that. And now, the other part of this is the United States providing assistance to Pakistan. Since the 50s, the USA has been sending huge amounts of money and indeed weaponry to Pakistan. That U-2 that was shot down with Gary Powers way back in 1961, that took off from Pakistan. Or Kissinger's first visit to China was a secret flight from Pakistan. So because of the Cold War, just to get a few hundred miles closer to the Soviet Union, the United States skewed its whole South Asia policy towards Pakistan and ergo against India. And we all know in Afghanistan, in that war in the 80s, the United States provided lots of money to the Pakistani government, which they then disbursed to their preferred Mujahideen groups. So reducing aid might be a thing to do. Would that elicit more cooperation? Pakistan can only help the United States to a certain extent. I mean, some Americans are reasonable about this. Pakistanis are not Americans. They have different national security priorities, different beliefs. When they hear their faith being grievously insulted by the president all the time, that is not going to elicit more assistance from Pakistan. So Pakistan's got a crucial relationship with China as well. China sees Pakistan as a counterweight to India, the other rising superpower in Asia, and China's already building a great new railway to another port in Pakistan. They built the Karakoram railway for them years ago. Just don't remind the Pakistanis that the Sunni Muslim minority in the Chinese province of Xinjiang are not allowed any autonomy. Even those who peacefully campaign for it are liable to be jailed in China. Because that's challenging state power, being a splittist. But I'm afraid Pakistan simply has to turn Nelson's eye to that. It won't do to say something that their friends in Beijing don't like. So Trump's move might cause China to fill the power vacuum even more. Well, the financial vacuum. You might say that was happening anyway, but I think it will just accelerate and extend this tendency. Now, the other point is Pakistan can be helpful on Afghanistan. It's only been helpful up to an extent to please the United States. Maybe its help has been cosmetic, handing over Arab or Afghan members of the Taliban or Al Qaeda, not Pakistani ones. And it was always carefully timed right before a press conference with the US president. But if Pakistan refuses to play ball on the Afghanistan issue, then life for the US military in Afghanistan is going to be rather more difficult, because they won't be able to get supplies shipped through Pakistan. And you're not going to be able to use Iranian airspace, and you have to go therefore the long way around, which is more expensive to fly things in, over the airspace of countries like Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and so on. And the way their governments operate is not entirely the way the US would like to see. As usual with Trump, there has been tough rhetoric. Not quite as incendiary as he sometimes is, but the action doesn't quite follow through with it, because they're not cutting all aid. And behind the scenes, both sides are keen to mend fences. A bit like on Iran, Trump releases a tirade and he's doing all this macho posturing, but not willing to follow through. Signed off a couple of times on the Iran deal, and then refused to, wouldn't take firm action, left that up to Congress, so he abdicates his responsibility. And then now he's signing off on the Iran deal for the last time. He says, well, if it's a busted flush, why not refuse to? And again, he's not willing to take responsibility for it if that's his policy. He's inconsistent as usual. So what will happen? I suppose the issue might be quietly dropped. Maybe there's more a warning shot against Pakistan's bows, but this Afghan conflict shows no sign of ending. There's a rivalry to have the greatest say within Afghanistan between Pakistan and India. And of course, from the end of the communist government in Afghanistan, Pakistan had it all their own way for about 10 years. They'd like to get back to that situation. They might never entirely achieve it. So Trump might even have accomplished something if this brings about more help from Pakistan in terms of intelligence. But I don't think fulsome cooperation is ever going to be forthcoming, because Pakistan would like to see their people controlling Afghanistan, which would mean the total defeat of the Taliban, something which is virtually impossible.